Hey, welcome to another Enneagram podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yet another Enneagram podcast. But this one's different. Another Enneagram podcast is here to help you be a better leader for your team.
We know leadership is already challenging enough, and it can be downright frustrating when your team communication breaks down.
Another Enneagram podcast is here to tell you stories of leaders just like you who are learning how to lead their teams better with the Enneagram. If you want your team to communicate better, be more productive, and love their jobs, another Enneagram podcast is for you. Hey everyone, Ryan here, just really quick popping in to introduce the interview that I'm getting ready to share with you. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever been quite so excited to share an interview with you guys. My guest today is Rhea Lana Riner, and a lot of you might already be familiar with her because of the company that she runs called Rhea Lana's. They're a children's consignment store that they have over 100 locations or franchises all over the country, and Rhea Lana's just amazing. She's built this business from scratch, as you'll hear, starting in her living room up to what it is today. I think she's an incredible leader and just person, and I'm really, really excited to share this interview with you today. So here we go, my interview with Rhea Lana Riner. All right, Rhea Lana, welcome to another Enneagram podcast. Glad to have you here. So for those that don't know you, like I do, give a little introduction to yourself, talk about kind of your background a little bit and what it is that you do.
Hi, Ryan. Well, it's really great to be here. Yes, I own a company. It's called Rhea Lana's Children's Consignment Events. It's a business I started in my living room when I was a stay-at-home mom with 3 little kids, and just really had a heart for moms and for giving them an opportunity to save money selling their kids things. And so now I find myself a franchisor. We have about 100 franchises in about 23 states.
Yeah. Does that feel as crazy to you as it sounds to me?
Absolutely, it does. I really just feel like I'm a mom who raised kids, and that's what I'm really the proudest of, is I've got 3 children, and that's really what I poured my heart into.
Well, and I had the honor of knowing all of your kids, went to college with one of them, and I'll just say I'm a big fan of pretty much everybody in the Riner clan. So
Thank you.
I am a fan of you guys. Tell a little bit more of that story. I've heard you tell it before about starting this, and in your living room in particular. I love that story. Share a little bit about that as well.
Well, I don't have a business degree, first of all, and so I sometimes think it's very comical that this is what I'm doing. I have a degree in exercise physiology, but my husband made a career track, a jump from his career track after we'd been married almost 10 years, and went from the corporate world to working for a nonprofit. And so our income took quite a nosedive, and we had 3 little kids, and I really had always loved shopping for bargains, and this was about 20 years ago, and there just really weren't many good secondhand opportunities out there that were really high quality and trustworthy. And so we just decided to invite a few friends over into my living room, and we set up 3 racks of clothes, and it just worked. Moms were looking for high quality. Like, garage selling is fun, but we kind of just wanted a high quality experience.
Yeah.
And then after I did it the first time, my husband had looked at me and said, Rhea Lana, you should computerize this. Now, that seems like no big deal now because our whole world is computerized.
Right.
But back in the early 90s, that was a really big deal when stay-at-home moms didn't even have a computer in their house.
Yeah.
So he likes tinkering with that kind of stuff.
Yes, he does.
So he actually wrote the software, and we barcoded it and just kind of ran a little sale in our living room.
Yeah. Well, our listeners won't care about this at all, but I just think it's funny. You may not know this. When I worked for your husband for a while, I think the first 2 weeks of my job, probably, I sat in his office and just asked him questions and had a big sheet of paper and basically just tried to map out what was in his brain because I knew it didn't exist anywhere else. And I needed to know it in order to do my job. So the idea of him coming to you and saying, let's computerize this, I just find that amazing because that's just about right. And he would too.
Yeah. And for him, it was relaxing. In the corporate world, he's an engineer. And so he had done, task jobs all day.
Right.
So then he went into more of a people ministry job. And so when he came home at night, he just wanted to sit in front of a computer and do tasks. So it really kind of worked out for him. It was kind of a hobby and relaxing, and it didn't cost us anything.
Right.
So it just worked out.
Well, that's great. So do you remember how many people you had show up at that first one?
Well, the very first one was a total failure.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So I remember that, and most of my friends were stay-at-home moms. So my husband was really my resource to being professional and because he had been out in the world. And I remember him saying, Rhea Lana, if you can mail out 100 postcards, you can get a bulk rate. We were trying to, because we definitely didn't borrow any money. We started this thing, ourselves and on a very small salary. So I mailed out 100 postcards. And I remember when I had 11 consigners who actually participated, who brought me all their clothes, and I re-washed them and ironed them. And I just thought that was just so wonderful that 11 people would let me sell their things. And I borrowed 3 racks of clothes. I rented them. And we moved the furniture out of our living room. And we set these 3 racks of clothes up. And no one came, hardly at all. It was just, I didn't know anything about marketing, Ryan.
Yeah.
And I'm an introvert. So, I kind of thought if I made it perfect, people would come.
Yeah.
I quickly learned that you actually have to tell people about it too.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to hold on to that nugget about making it perfect for our conversation later about the enneagram.
Okay.
So not very many people came to that first one. How did that make you feel? Was it tough?
Oh, it was terrible. As it is, I really wanted a partner. Like I had asked several women to be my partner in business because I was very insecure.
Yeah.
Didn't come from a family of business. Really didn't have much confidence. And so for me, it was just a huge risk to put myself on the line by myself. And so I just felt like a failure. But I really like to do things very well, kind of a perfectionist. And so I remember calling each consignor and just profusely apologizing and saying, can I keep your things one more week? I'm going to try really hard, and I promise I'm going to sell more of your things.
Wow.
And so I kind of thought through, what else do I need to do? How can I get people here to come and shop? And so we did it again. We did it a second weekend, and then I felt good, like we'd sold enough to make it worth everybody's time.
Yeah. So then you went from that to now 100 franchises. What happened? How did that happen?
Well, it just turns out there was a need. I really had no idea. But there was obviously a need for moms who wanted to be smart about their money and have a nice, high-quality secondhand experience.
Yeah.
And we did it all in event mode. It's always just been twice a year. Like I never wanted to own a consignment store. My main goal was to be a mom and then to just do these events twice a year.
Okay.
And so it just turns out that moms were looking for this high quality experience. We've always guaranteed everything. So when a consignor wanted to sell their things, they knew that if we lost them or for whatever reason, we were going to pay them for anything that was missing. And that just wasn't being offered anywhere at the time. Still isn't much.
So how long was it from the living room experience until it was not just you anymore? And I don't know if it was a franchise at that point or until it was, you and there was someone else who was doing it apart from you.
Well, it's been a journey. I did it for 10 years before I ever franchised. That really wasn't the goal. Like I said, I didn't have a business background. I really wasn't even starting a business. It was just moms helping moms.
Yeah. Was it still twice a year at that point?
Always been twice a year.
Okay.
That's always the original model. Never changed from that. We called it semi-annual consignment sales.
Okay.
But I do remember a big first step when... So we do these sales twice a year, and it kind of worked with my family. My family knew Mom's going to work really hard twice a year, and then she's going to be back in her stay-at-home mom role.
Yeah.
So each time we would add a different room of the house so we put maternity in my daughter's room, and we added stuff in the kitchen. Literally it took over our whole house.
Yes.
And thankfully the kids kind of put up with it because it's just what they did. They didn't know anything different. But I do remember when it became people coming into my home that weren't just my friends. And like my girls had these special dolls that their grandparents had bought them for Christmas. And the general public just didn't take care of my things and respect them like friends were. And so we just began to realize, okay, this is becoming more than just friends. It's becoming the general public.
Right.
And then we had some neighbors complain about the traffic because we had lots of traffic coming into the neighborhood. So we began to realize we needed to get it out of our house and go find a place outside of our house.
Yeah. So where was the first place outside of your home?
Well, we have been all over this town. it was an old doctor's office that had like a bunch of little rooms. I
Yeah.
still remember being very dark. It's an old building. I mean, if you live here in Conway, it's across from the high school. Like it was old and dark, but it was really cheap.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, now fast forward to where we're at now, and you have close to 100 franchise owners, right? Or franchises in total. What was the biggest thing you think that has changed, like with you, with your leadership, with the structure of the organization that has helped get to where it is now?
Wow, that's a great question.
And I gave you ample time to prepare for it.
Wow. I do love growing things, and I compare it a lot to being a parent and a mom. You like watching your kids grow, you like developing them, and I think that's what I learned as I got into business. For one thing, is I actually really enjoyed it. Like it's been really hard,
right?
And we've sacrificed a lot, but I just learned that the more I improved myself and more I invested in other women, especially, things were growing, and then we were helping families, and that's really what motivated me.
Right.
And then I did realize, again, about 10 years in, that this thing was actually a really cool business that could bless other women like me who were trying to, maybe they wanted to be more flexible with their jobs, or maybe they wanted to be home with their families more.
Right.
And so we began to realize, I think we could franchise this.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked about investing in other people, especially in some women and moms and stuff. What does that mean to you, to invest in those people?
Well, it means to help them. In my world, it means to help them become better business women. Most women have zero experience in business.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's helping them find out about themselves.
Yeah.
Their strengths, their weaknesses. Help them learn to be on a team.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's helping them learn to operate outside their comfort zone.
Right.
So I will say it's definitely been a lot harder than I thought it would be. Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah.
I would not want to make it seem like it's easy.
Well, and I know you have faced some pretty big challenges along the way, and had to fight for your business at different times, and yet here you are. So that's pretty awesome. So let's switch gears then just for a second and talk about Enneagram, right? So for you, tell me a little bit about that. Like, where did you first encounter that, and what? Yeah, how'd you get started in the Enneagram conversation?
Well, my son gets full credit for anything I know about the Enneagram.
Okay.
He's in his late 20s, and he actually learned about it years ago, before it was a thing.
Yeah.
And it was just in his own journey of, as becoming an adult and just personal and professional. He's the one that discovered it.
That's awesome.
As he was just trying to learn about himself and how he's wired and kind of how he's different than his dad.
Right.
We're always trying to figure out where we fit, and so he's the one that began talking to me about it.
Very cool. Huh. So when he first did talk to you about it, did you think it was crazy, or what was your initial reaction?
Well, I've always loved personality things.
Okay.
And so I'm older than you, Ryan. Okay. And so I'm not going to say how old I am, but I have been around when we were doing personalities, and years ago when I was first married. It just helped me learn to be better married and understand my husband. It was a game changer. And then I remember when the disc came, and that was again really helpful. So I've always really been interested in, why do people operate a way they operate.
Right.
And then once I saw my son really lean into the Enneagram, I was just very interested. I also didn't have a lot of time for it, so I think it took me a while to realize, okay, I need to learn about this.
Right.
So I've been very interested. And every time I dig a little deeper, I really appreciate it and want to learn more.
Yeah. And so if people listening haven't figured it out already, you're a type 1,
Yes.
Which is also what I am. And we tend to, without even thinking about it, talk about making things perfect and just right.
There's a right way to do things, for sure.
Yeah,
of course.
I joke, and I don't know if anybody else besides you will think this is funny, but I say people have complete freedom to be wrong about things. Like, that's totally okay. There's my way. You can do it your way. It's your right to be wrong.
I love it.
And that's half joke and half indictment on myself. But so you've tested, taken some assessments and came back as an Enneagram 1, and you agree with that assessment, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think it, and I've taken it through a lot of filters again because I have done different personality things through the years. So I was a little skeptical,
Right.
but I feel like it nailed me.
So what were some of your kind of initial insights from that once you learned that you typed as a type 1 on the Enneagram?
Wow. I might have to think about that. One of the things, and maybe you can put the words to it,
Sure.
but I think are we a reformer?
Yes, that's my favorite way to describe a 1.
That was one of the first things that hit my heart, that I had never thought of myself that way.
Yeah.
But I remember reading that going, yes, that motivates me.
Yeah.
Beyond just we do things the right way, and we just kind of like I carried the same purse for 10 years. I'd never moved my furniture. I just kind of like things the
Right.
same way.
Right.
It gives me just security in my life.
Yeah. Are you like me and you basically want to rearrange the buffets whenever you come up to them?
I don't know if I care about that, but there's plenty of other things.
If
I
I'm
probably do. I want the plates to be a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely.
A certain
The
place, and
plates
the forks.
have to go in the right
Of
spot.
course.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
We're tracking then.
Yes.
And you also know the best way to load a dishwasher?
Of course.
Yeah, me too.
Like I just tell my husband to just forget it. He doesn't know how to do it.
Yes. Okay, we understand each other. This is
Speaking
good.
the same language, Ryan.
Well, so you have kind of dug into the Enneagram conversation with your team as well, a little bit. I've been able to come and have that conversation a bit, and you may have had some of that outside of me as well. What has that been like? How have you guys used that as a team?
It's been a game changer, and I do wish I had done it sooner. Sometimes when you think about bringing it into your business, or sometimes it just doesn't ever feel like there's a good time.
Right.
If a lot of businesses are like me, every day you feel like you're 10 steps behind and you're solving the next crisis. Like,
Right.
when is it really a good time to do training?
Right.
But I will say that I wish I had done it a long time ago, because we really have only done it, maybe it's only even been a month ago, and already I can hear the conversations going on with my team members that have changed.
That's awesome.
And I just, it's so valuable. It's so valuable. And it helps them also understand themselves. It gives us a way to talk about strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
As tendencies, but here's something we can fix it. There's a way you see things,
Right.
but maybe let's think about this.
Yeah.
It's helping me understand people that are not ones, because
Yeah. Yeah.
we need to try to understand why people are different.
It's true.
So it's been very valuable, and I have a lot of work to do to understand the other Enneagram numbers, but I
Right.
do have a goal of that, especially now that I know what my people are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you said, the big homework is now go home and become an expert at the other numbers.
Right.
And that's where I'm really challenging myself.
Yeah, because it's by default, we understand our own numbers, right? Because that's the way that the world makes sense to us. But other people's numbers and personalities, it's like a different language, and we don't intuitively get it like the thing about the dishwashers or the buffet lines, right? So what has it meant for you as a leader? How have you seen yourself do some things differently even after beginning kind of this Enneagram journey?
Well, every day we are looking at jobs to be done and who on our team can do the jobs the best. I think now, as I think through how each person on my team is a certain Enneagram, it's helping me make those decisions better.
Yeah.
So I'm learning, that a 5 likes knowledge. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have someone I didn't know she was a 5. I
Yeah.
don't really even know many 5s. But now that I know that that's how she is, I'm giving her those projects because she loves them. And
Right.
she's going to do it well and quickly.
Yeah.
And I've got someone else who is an 8. And so now I'm thinking through, these are the things that she's going to be good at. So it's helping me give the right jobs to the right people, for one thing.
Right. That's great. And when you say my team, how many people are you talking about?
Well, on my corporate team here, I probably have 6 that are full-time.
Okay.
I lead lots of different teams.
Yes.
Because then I've got kind of a corporate team that's probably 20, and then we're getting ready to run these events.
Right.
Where I don't know their Enneagrams, because I
Right.
probably am going to have 100 people working for me, but I have a close team that will be running those events together.
So is that difficult when you've got multiple different teams that you're trying to work with, to think through a lens of understanding other people's personalities? Is that difficult to try and juggle all that in your head?
Well, it is, but to me, that's the ultimate responsibility of a leader. If we're going to be good leaders, we need to know our team well. And I think it's a way that we show respect to them. I think it's a way that we help them win at their job. I remember something else that you said that I liked is we have a tendency to attract people that are like us. And, we went around our office and I've attracted a lot of ones.
Yeah, which I've never experienced before in any of the trainings I've done, by the way. I felt very much at home.
Well, and I think it's great for what we do. We're a corporate office we're running a franchising company. And so I can see, it is important that we have a lot of processes and we do things the right way. But at the same time, it's helped me because when I think about my next hires and who I want to come in, I don't want to only have ones here. Well, I'll drive each other crazy, making sure we're doing things the right way. We need some other things.
Right.
So that's been really good for me.
Oh, that's awesome. So where do you think you're going in the next 5 to 10 years with all this, with your company in general? How do you see all that progressing?
Well, it is interesting doing business during a global pandemic. I mean, that has been, crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of our company, and we're looking to keep growing. 100 franchises was my goal for a long time, and we hit that in the fall, and I hope we just keep going. The next goal is 150. I don't know when we'll hit that, and so to do that, though, I have to have a strong corporate team. And so it's why I want to get, for a long time, I built this business kind of just myself.
Yeah. And
now I really am moving into a team leader and a team builder, because you can't have anything really large unless you can have teams.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to move from that founder who did all the work herself to training other people to do those jobs.
That's great.
So to me, the Enneagram is very important.
Yeah.
And I want people, the folks who work for me, I want them to feel good about themselves. And I think when you understand yourself and you understand your strengths and your weaknesses and how it helps you have confidence and also work on the things that need to be worked on and celebrate the things that are awesome.
Absolutely. All right, so 2 questions here and we'll wrap up. One of them is, what are you learning right now in this stage of your business that you think might help someone else in a similar stage in their business and leadership?
Well, it's hard work. It's tons harder than you thought it would be. But I really compare that to marriage or parenting or any. If we all knew how hard it was going to be, we probably would never do it, right?
It's a good thing we didn't know.
Yes, but it's so worth it. And so that's how I look at this stage of my business. It's challenging me, but it's also really awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you figure out kind of how you were created and how you were gifted, and it helps you begin to operate in your strengths the older you get.
Right. So, okay, last one then. Talk to someone that's a little bit more like me, who's still fairly young in their own entrepreneurial experience, or just maybe new to the business world in general. Someone that, if you look back on those years for you, what's one of the best insights that you picked up along the way that might be helpful for someone else who's a few steps behind?
I think learn from everyone. I just learn from everyone, even people that you don't think that you should be learning from.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I try to do, is just learn from everyone. Every conversation, everyone I meet, what could I learn to help me figure this out? And I think just to realize nobody's got it figured out. I think I spend a lot of time feeling very insecure, like I'm an imposter, like what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But no one's got it figured out.
Yeah.
I do think that I worked really hard, and I wasn't going to give up. And I would just encourage young people, it's not going to come easy.
Yeah.
So if you think it's going to come easy, just go do something else.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's worth it. But you do have to be willing to outwork your competitors, outwork, but it's really awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I said that was the last one, but you said something that I had to ask. So you talked about learning from everybody. And as an Enneagram 1, we joke about knowing the right and best way to do things. So how did you get to the mental place where you were able to say, okay, I don't know the right way or the best way to do stuff? How were you able to ask people or to be open to learning from other people in that way?
Well, I don't think I've ever felt like I had all the answers, ever. Like, ever. When it came to marriage or parenting, or I have a way that I'm comfortable with.
Right.
But I always have been a lifelong learner with whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I just think that we have to be a lifelong learner in every area of our life. And so I just think we have to be very humble. If any of us think we have our act together, wow, that's a mistake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that I'm better this year than I was last year.
Absolutely.
Really, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Is within my giftings, my abilities, my personalities, I hope that I get better every year.
Yeah. Well, I think that's such a good distinction, talking about the things that you're comfortable with and knowing that they work, but also knowing that there might be something still to learn, and that there is something still to learn.
Well, because honestly, the things that we're afraid of, the things we're afraid to learn, or they seem the hardest, or when we buckle down and learn those, wow, a new world opens up.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, that wasn't that hard. I can figure this out. I can operate in this space.
Right.
And I think we do go back to our comfort zone, because that's where we gain energy. But then our comfort zone expands.
Yeah.
And we're able to then operate, with a higher capacity and with larger comfort zones as we get older.
Definitely. Well, I love that. And I could probably sit and ask you a lot of questions for a lot longer, but I know you have a company to run. And so I'm going to let you get back to doing that. But thanks so much for letting me sit down and do a little podcast with you.
Well, I love what you're doing, and I think it will benefit a lot of people.
Well, thank you. Hey, thanks for joining us today on another Enneagram podcast.
As fellow leaders, we know it can be frustrating when it seems like you always run into the same problems on your team with the same people. But leaders just like you are learning how to lead their teams better using the Enneagram, and you can too.
So if you like what you heard today, we would love it if you would share this podcast on social media and leave a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts, preferably only good, reviews and ratings. That would be great.
If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram. We're at Another Enneagram, or head over to our website, anotherenneagram.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Another Enneagram podcast.